Bonjour, welcome. My name is Joseph. I am the Managing Director of your French Learning Center. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to focus this this is going to be a trial lesson that we're presenting out to you via video. We've had a number of requests for sample lessons as we progress with our TCF and TF offerings to candidates who are going to take these exams. Typically, we do offer our free trial classes in person at set times throughout the year. But just to accommodate the increased demand, I thought it would be advisable just to share a sample recording lesson with you so you can have a better idea as to what to expect from YFLC. So before we get started, let me just introduce us a little bit and share what we're doing here. So just get started, our company here is Your French Learning Center. We're based out of Abbotsford, BC currently. However, we do operate and take in and support individuals from no matter where you are. We have that capability. What I'm discussing here today is a sample of our in-person sessions. We do also offer asynchronous preparation for the exam, but that will be covered in a separate video. So this video is just about in-person. It's a sample lesson about our in-person lessons, how we operate, but we do again also offer asynchronous online learning only modules and options that we have for your convenience, so you can help you no matter where you are in the world. All right, so one more thing before we get started. Our website is up here, yflc.ca. You can also give us a call time at 1-604-619-8642. That's our phone number. If you're out of Canada, just hit +1. We are based in Canada, so we are, of course, preparing for the Canadian TF or TEF exam. You can also connect with us at WhatsApp. We have our username at Your French Learning. You can look for, of course, our website, yflc.ca. All right, so with that being said, just a little bit about me. My name is Joseph Robinson. Like I mentioned, I have my Master of Education degree. I'm a certified teacher of French and French immersion. I also have my certification in psychology. I have been teaching for over 15 years in the public sector as well as the private and online. So I have a wide range of experience. I've also been supporting PR and supporting PR candidates for a good while. And so I really do enjoy doing this as much as I can. I've launched this business here, again, currently based out of Abbotsford, BC, with expanding. But we are also supporting and offering the service online to learners from no matter where you are in Canada or in the world. So that being said, let's examples. So let me just go back one slide, sorry. Okay, so our TEF or TCF Exam Prep program operates on an 8-month schedule. So we teach the information you need in 8 months. We do certainly, I want to be perfectly clear, we do have additional options afterwards. So if you do need additional support, we can go on a month-by-month basis with you, but we do plan to teach the entire content within an 8-month period. That's very ambitious, especially if you're coming from a zero French background. It is possible. It just depends entirely on how you learn and what your learning style is and how much you retain and how much time you can dedicate to the language outside our in-person sessions. So again, to be clear, our program lasts 8 months. We teach the entire content within 8 months. If you do need additional time or additional support, we're happy to have you in what I call our catch-up cohorts afterwards for additional one-on-one support. During our instruction, we have all domains are tested. So we continue to assess and teach domains that you will experience on your exam. They're woven into our lessons, so that way you're getting practice with that. You will see that in a little bit as well as we go through our sample lesson. We typically cover 2 domains per session. So if you meet with in-person sessions, as you see here, you meet with us 2 times per week for live instruction. And during each session, we assess 2 different domains. So you'll be covering reading comprehension, spoken comprehension, speaking skills, and writing skills throughout the course of each week for the content that you're learning that. Okay, so it's very tailored, very customized. Our work is very important. We believe it's very important to bring those skill sets up from the beginning, so that way you're not surprised when you go to sit the exam. So I like to compare this to riding a bicycle. That's why we have this guy here in the corner. There are skill sets that need to be learned, but there also is practice. You require practice to do very well. And to that end, we offer our clients 2 things. First, we have, in addition to our in-person classes, we have an online portal that's available to all our learners, whether you're in person or whether you're virtual. We provide access to Prep My Future. We have a unique partnership with them. They're based out of France, and they are the only authorized TF exam provider, exam preparer as of this time. So we have a unique partnership with them. So we're offering you top quality resources. The portal that you would get, the access that you would get, allow you to take mock exams, become more familiar with the exam format, etc. But we ourselves work with the content to teach you French if you don't know it. And if you do, we will be refining, developing your French speaking skills. Outside of Prep My Future, we do also offer and utilize resources by expert resource providers to bring the best quality service possible, as well as our own in-house produced in-house produced resources as well. So what does it look like? Well, we meet in person 2 times per week for 45 minutes per session. So outside of our learning, we do offer optional skill practice. You do not have to complete any assignments of this program, but we do certainly recommend it, especially if you're operating under a time crunch, especially as we're within the 8 period. We do recommend that you practice outside of our classroom and yourself with resources that we provide, as well as other software and Prep My Future. So it does take a good bit of time to encourage that. But our classes are offered at set times for 45 minutes, times gather with us. We'll pay for the service on 2 options. You can either pay for it in one lump sum, or you can pay for it on a monthly basis. Pricing is something we discuss later on, but you do have the option to do that. Operate on a little bit more than a month. It's normally like every 5 weeks is a learning cycle, because you have 10 lessons per learning cycle. So you pay your fee for a learning cycle, and that is 10 lessons per learning cycle. And again, that will include all your live instruction, access to our resources as well as the external resources that we provide as well. Finally, our instruction, as you get further in the process, like around month 7, we start working more with mock exams, and you start taking exams or writing mock exams with us here at YFLC, getting constant feedback and areas of growth on an ongoing basis. So that's basically what our program looks like. It's very in-depth, very robust, continuing to grow and improve over time. So if you have any questions, especially pertaining to pricing, whether you give us a call or check our site where our pricing programs are, our current pricing is listed. Thank you so much. Let's go into a lesson now. So take our sample. What we're going to do is, I'm going to, for example, this is l'interrogation questions. It's the interrogation, but it means, in a grammar context, it means asking questions. Like how do we ask questions? So if you were coming into my class for a 45-minute session, this would be a little bit more developed and robust. So it would be a little longer, because you would be providing information. I am just walking you through it as though you were here and sharing my end of the story. If you were there, of course, answering your questions and going into a little detail depending on what you wanted to know more information about. Okay, but basically, French, to ask questions, you have 3 main ways of asking questions, and you'll know for me that information is pretty French. Do not worry. This is designed for 2 reasons. First, we like to have an immersive atmosphere, but we do provide instruction available in English as well as in French. Some of our instructors are fluent in Punjabi as well as Hindi and other languages. So that is also an option. We like to use our languages, the language that you're most comfortable with, if it's one that we can communicate as well, to help you better understand the context. We always bring it back to French, because that is what we're here to learn, and we believe that constant exposure to the language can help you grow. So when asking, we're going to ask people questions in French. There are 3 main ways you can do it with what we call intonation, which is simply by raising your voice at the end of the phrase. This is very current. It's very often found when you're speaking to people as opposed to writing. And an example of this is le café, like the café. Just so you know, is a personal pronoun for non-binary individuals. So it's like the singular they in English. That we have. Also, this is becoming more and more common in contemporary text, so we do like to introduce this as well, so you're aware and not surprised when you're looking at a text. When you're in an exam, you may encounter that, and we want to make sure that you know as much about the modern language as we can as the language evolves. To ask a question, though, to go back to the initial point, you can ask questions simply by raising your voice. So, tu aimes le café? If you listen to my voice, you can hear that it's raising at the end. I'm saying le café instead of a flat statement, tu aimes le café. If I say to you a statement like tu aimes le café, that's a statement. That means you like the cafe or you like coffee, depending on which one you mean, because the word café means both. But if I raise my voice, I'm asking a question. Tu aimes le café? Do you like the coffee or do you like the café? And you would be able to tell by context which one I meant. But when you look at it, you can see that my voice is raising, and that is what's one of the first ways and simplest ways of asking a question orally in French. A second way that we have is using the word est-ce. This word over here is called est-ce. I know it looks very complex. I know it looks very robust, but it is simply pronounced est-ce. And so this word is a great way to ask questions in French. We use it very often when we're speaking, and we also use it very often when we're writing. It's acceptable in both forms. So if I wanted to ask the same question, do you like the coffee, or does he work here? I say, est-ce qu'il travaille ici? So in our first example, I had the expression il travaille ici, and I raised my voice at the end. But in the second format, I'm using the word est-ce here. So I'd like you to repeat that wherever you are. Est-ce. And so again, it's just like one word, est-ce que. And so you link it together. So est-ce qu'il travaille? This means, this would translate in English to does he work here? So it doesn't really have a clean set expression or equivalent in English. It kind of varies depending on what you're asking. Here, est-ce que tu aimes le café? That means do you like the cafe? So here, the word est-ce que means does, and here it's going to be do. It can change depending on what you're actually asking, but it is basically the starter for a yes or no question. The last way we can ask a question is with inversion. And inversion is a very common way, much more formal. It's very beautiful. So instead of asking the question, est-ce qu'il travaille ici? I can ask my question, travaille-t-il ici? And I'm adding an T here. This is for the concept called liaison. This is covered in detail in a separate lesson. But essentially, to make inversion, you would put your verb first, and then you would put the subject, and then you put the rest of the sentence. So in our other example, aimes-tu le café? Do you like the cafe? And so at this point, if you're here with me with a real lesson, I would be asking if you have any questions, and I would answer any questions you have. We go through this, to make sure that you're fully grasping the content and fully aware of what we're actually doing, and then we would move on. Because this is a sample lesson, I'm just going to move on at this point. So when we're looking at, we're going to ESCA here in a little bit more detail. So we ESCA at the beginning of a phrase, and the answer is always going to be yes or no. So after you use ESCA, you use it when you have a yes or no question. It's like what we call a closed question. It's just like, yes, it's yes or no. Here we have some practical examples. Est-ce que le centre de langue est ouvert? Is the language center open? Est-ce qu'ils ont réussi l'examen final? Have they passé la leçon? Have you understood the lesson? Or you understand, the lesson. So again, you can see these are all different ways of using ESCA to ask questions. All right, so at this point, we should be able at this point to know the three ways that we ask questions in French. One is with inversion. Let's just go back to that second just to make sure that's in front of you. We have the first is with intonation, the second is using ESCA, and the third is with inversion. Okay, so that is that. So now let's go forward, and we're talking about asking questions on places and on about the place and time. So this point, we're going to be focusing more on vocabulary at this point in the lesson. So we started off with some grammar. Now we're going to go into some more vocabulary. Now, it's really important to note that when you're learning a language, especially if you're at like the A1 level or A2 level, you really, really are going to get a lot of vocabulary thrown at you. You're going to learn a lot of vocabulary because without vocab, you can't learn the language. Now, when we're preparing individuals for the TCF Exam, this by taking vocab and kind of chunking it into the actual exam form and preparation, because we're on a time schedule. So we don't have, the luxury of taking our time and like really just combing through the language like I would with my regular adult French classes. But what we're going to do here for this is we're going to turn around and we're going to give you example words that are geared towards helping you pass this test and help you succeed at it. So the word où in French means where. This is the word où with the accent over it. Means it's a place. It means where. So you can use the question like où est-ce qu'elle habite? Where does she live? Où allez-vous après le cours? Where are you going after the class? Another important question word to know in French is the word quand. Quand, this word Q-A-N-D, it's pronounced quand, not quand. Be careful. It's quand. And we use quand when we want to know like the time something's happening, l'heure, the time, the date of an action. So we have an example, quand partez-vous en voyage? When are you leaving on a trip? So you tell me you're going on a trip. I want to know when you're going to go. I might say, quand partez-vous en voyage? So when are you going on your trip? Another great word to know, vocabulary to know here. The word comment allows us to know the way something's going to happen. So we use comment to learn how the manner or the way something's going to happen or the method that's going to be used. So for example, if I want to know how a word is written or spelled, I can say comment s'écrit ce mot? Comment s'écrit ce mot? How is this word written? This is second question is one that's definitely one to know. Comment allez-vous? Comment allez-vous aujourd'hui? How are you today? So I'm going to pause a moment here on that so you can actually get some practice saying that. Comment allez-vous aujourd'hui? That's really important because this is a question you're going to probably almost guaranteed. When you're talking, communicating, how are you today? It's a great starter question. The word pourquoi means why. So we use pourquoi to know why something happens, the reason or the goal of an action. So for example, pourquoi est-il en retard? Why is he late? Or pourquoi apprenez-vous le français? Many times during the conversation with an examiner, you might be required to answer like, why do you want to come to Canada? Why do you want to be here? This word pourquoi is very much used to ask that question. Okay, and if you were in class, like in a real instruction class, we go through and answering these questions, so you can be able to learn the vocabulary and the skills necessary to effectively answer questions in French. Okay, so let's go on to this next one here on words of quantity and price. Word is another interrogative word or another question word that we use to figure out the quantity of things. So, for example, combien d'étudiants sont présents? How many students are present? Combien de temps dure l'épreuve? How long is this test going to last? Combien coûte ce manuel de grammaire? How much does this textbook, this grammar textbook, cost? So we can use the word combien to ask these questions. And I'm going to pause here for a moment. I want you to look at this question format here and ask yourself and answer the question, which question format is being used? If you think back to our three question formats, we had the word Est-ce as one, we had intonation, and we had inversion. So I want you to test yourself and think which question format is being used here. If you said intonation, you're correct. Okay, so combien d'étudiants sont présents? I'm raising my voice at the end. It's the logical way. I'm not using intonation here. I'm not using inversion here. I'm not using est-ce here. This is more of a open interrogative question where I'm raising my voice and it would be intonation. Good job. All right, so let's look at when we're asking questions and things. What are some question words we want to use? Well, word qui is used to find information about something. Qui means who or whom. So for example, qui est à la porte? Who is at the door? Or avec qui elle travaille sur ce projet? With whom is she working on this project? The word quoi or que all mean can. It depends. You make the determination of which word is used depending on what you're saying. There are specific grammatical rules that govern when we can use these, but that's the subject for another lesson. But just to give you an example, if you look at this one here, qu'est-ce que vous lisez? What are you reading? Here, de quoi parlez-vous? What are you talking about? So this is a couple examples of how these words can be used, and it's important to use them correctly so that you're understood in French. And that's why it's important to have experts like my team here at YFLC to really help explain when and how things should be used, so that way you're getting the best content. So we're talking about asking questions. We're getting towards the end of this here in terms of question words. One of the ones I want you to be aware of here is this word quel. So the word quel, it has several different forms. And here at YFLC, we like to go and get into the grammar and the details to make sure you understand everything as best as we can explain it to you. So it's important to understand the word quel has a masculine form, a feminine form, a masculine singular form, and a masculine plural form, and a feminine plural form. And when you start off with us at the beginning, we go to explain to you what that means, like masculine and feminine and gender and plurality. Like we talk about that all at the beginning before we even get to this point. But I'm just sharing with you this information here. So the word quel, and for us in French, it makes what we call agreement. That in French, you say s'accorde. It always makes agreement with gender and number about that it's accompanying. So the word quel means what or which. So quel est votre objectif? A great way to translate it would be, what's your objective? Which languages do you speak? So we can use this word quel to ask this kind of question, and we use it a lot of times in inversion. We use quel as sometimes to go back to inversion we were talking about earlier. See at the bottom example here, we say comprenez-vous la question? It's just a great way to recap what we talked about. That do you know that we're switching our verb and our subject here? Do you understand the question? Sont-ils d'accord? Are they in agreement? So these are just some quick ways to recap and to focus and to ask questions in French. All right, so after each lesson, after we go through the content, we take a lot of time practicing what we're talking about. And like I said, we assess at YFLC. We believe in assessing each of the 4 domains within every given week. So that way you're using the skill sets in a variety of ways. So for you now, we're going to give you a chance to practice. You have to actually do this activity here right now, but I'm just sharing with you an example. So because reading comprehension is a very important part of the exam, we give and provide texts that are appropriate for the level for the student or the candidate at which we teach. So if we were starting off at the beginning of our course, you'd be at A1 level, and we'd work you up to the A2 and then the B1, B2, and get to C1 and C2. But our target is B2 if we have time and opportunity, we continue to work through to get to the C1 and the C2 to help you as much as possible. But normally, most people are looking for NCLC 7. They're looking for the B2 level. So we make sure we get you to grow you to that point. But we don't start you there at the beginning unless you've already demonstrated proficiency at the B1 or B2 level. Because many times people are starting from the beginning, and we don't want to overwhelm you. So we start you off with something that's appropriate for your level and continue to make it progressively harder and challenging as you go along your 8-month period with us. All right, so for reading comprehension over here, this is a great sample. You have a text up here that is using some of the question words you've seen, like qui, comment, où, etc. And so what we do a lot of times, we'll ask you to go through questions, we'll turn around and ask you to understand text, figure out like what's going on in it, and then we have some comprehension questions afterwards. I often like to have my students read these things out as well, just so they can get practice with the fluency, pronunciation, and a lot of times that raises great questions as to, what does this word mean, or how do you use that the other, and these are great opportunities for us to have these questions as well. Then after that, we would go through to where I and ask you to from the grammar and be able to select the vocabulary word or the question word that best completes the sentence. Again, this is great because it allows you to actually look at a suggested answer to the sentence and figure out which one of these words best suits. It also allows us to you a chance to see the question formats, like you have here, and you have a different format over here. You also have inversion over here. So it allows us to just to rebuild and constantly grow what we've talked about, as well as completing a task, as well as giving you the opportunity to learn vocabulary. So that is a great example of how that would work. I often like to give students, again, optional assignments, skill building assignments to take if you prefer. We have, if you like, we also have we also provide our students with a visual electronic access to a document that has our resources that we use to teach as well. So you can go back, so you don't have to take physical notes in class. You can go back and look at it at your convenience and go through and review them at your convenience. Okay. All right. So that's just to the conclusion of our lesson, our free trial lesson here today. I hope that this information is helpful to you and learn how YFLC can help you. I definitely encourage you to reach out to us and contact us by one of the provided. I'm just going to go back to my main here. I encourage you to contact us. Means provided. YFLC.com. YFLC.ca is our website. You can also give us a call. That's the number provided 6061962, and you can turn around and reach out to us on WhatsApp. We have a social media, Instagram, and else as well, and questions. I would definitely encourage to reach us by phone or by email for up to date pricing. I'm not going to give information here because it does change as we go along, but just for up to date pricing, reach out to us so we can make sure you're getting the best value for your money. We're very happy to be here and to support you as much as we can through your learning journey. Thank you for joining me here today for this lesson. Again, reach out. I hope to hear you soon. Have a great day. Au revoir.